very good evening and welcome. You're watching the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. The big story we're focusing on this evening is the gloom over Indian IT companies after the results of top-tier players like TCS and Infosys that have tripped on global uncertainties and missed Street's estimates, setting a subdued tone for the Q4 performance of the IT pack. The earnings season started on a somber note with the Q4 scorecards that fell short of expectations. More importantly, management commentary of India's top two IT service companies, Infosys and TCS, was punctuated with words of caution about prevailing customer sentiments, despite several budget cuts, layoffs and deferred appointments. It seems choppy quarters are in store for the sector, but is this also a wake-up call for the industry once considered as the major growth driver of the economy? Before we start the conversation, let me go across to my colleague Anisha Jain, joining us for more details on the quarter results for IT companies and what lies ahead.
Oh, well, yes, Infosys numbers have definitely spoiled the party for the IT sector, and we saw a negative reaction not only in Infosys but across the board. The mid-cap IT and the top-tier IT companies were coming under pressure, and you have it on your screen, the kind of downgrades that we have seen after the earnings, especially with respect to, at least 10 brokerages cutting their buy call and bringing it down to a neutral. The increased number of sell calls as well are up for you on the screen, 9 versus 4, which was there pre-earnings as well. And the, disappointment is both on the earnings as well as the multiples front. So if you look at the brokerage downgrades coming in, the EPS have been cut for FY24 and FY25 anywhere between 5 to 10%. But there is this, multiple cut as well, wherein from earlier when the stock was being valued at 23-25 times, they are now expecting that the stock will be valued at around 18-19 times. And that's the reason we have seen target price cuts of anywhere between 5 to as much 30% for Infosys come by. And we saw other, brokerage reactions as well. The Citi downgrade coming in for Tech Mahindra as well, and that stock took a slide because the street is now worried whether this is a one quarter, one company issue, or is it more structural in nature. And that's the kind of visibility we did not get from any management as of now. Infosys management also talked about a bit of a stabilization in March quarter, but they're not talking about the recovery timeline as yet. Even from Infosys, we heard about, deal cancellations, etc. happening, and that compares to delay that TCS was talking about. And even the exposure to discretionary spend as well as North America is higher for Infosys, and that's the reason we are seeing sharper downgrades come in, because the street was very bullish on it. If you look at the TCS versus Infosys, kind of how it stacks up, the street was quite bullish on Infosys versus TCS, and that's why the reaction also was quite meaningful on Infosys versus TCS, and that seems to be a bit of a de-rating trigger for the entire sector.
You will get a modest positive return, but it may not be a great return. That's my view. So my own take is that Infi will probably have to come off by maybe like a 20% number for you to make, say, a teen kind of growth.
In terms of challenges, I would say maybe a Tech Mahindra because of higher, exposure to a communications vertical. And that is a vertical where both TCS and Infosys have cautioned. So purely from that standpoint, and because there is a transition which is happening at the leadership level, that could, show some kind of stress. We also expect some sequential decline in case of
This is a great opportunity with digital transformation. We see double-digit growth being possible over the next 3 to 5 years. This particular quarter, clients have taken a knee-jerk reaction, we think, because of heightened uncertainty that happened with the SVB collapse. And also in Europe, we've seen there were concerns that a large bank could fail. So with all that, people had just put a pause on CapEx, but we think that will return. It's just a matter of time. Maybe a few months later, we should see that come back. And structurally, we think we are on good growth trajectory.
So the other aspect to the fallout we're seeing from company results for the top Indian IT companies is also how they've slowed down on hiring, and that was made very evident in the conversations the management had. So hiring has gone down, will be sluggish for some more time. And what is going to be the impact on that? To speak on this, I'm joined by Mitul Shah, Head Research at Reliance Securities, Vijay Sivaram, CEO of Quess IT Staffing, and Rituparna Chakraborty, co-founder and ED of TeamLease Services. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today as we try and look at the bigger picture of what we are seeing right now. Mr. Sivaram, let me come to you first on your take and what you see as the persistence of the drop in hirings? I mean, we've been having these conversations and we knew this quarter would be tough. We saw it at the beginning of the year as well, that more people were being benched, the uptake of freshers was lower. Do you see this as continuing, and can we still continue to say that this is just an impact of overload of employee strength during the pandemic, which is being paired out now, or is there more to the story?
Hi, Tamanna. Good evening to you, and thanks for the invite. So I think bang on. I think a lot of points trigger towards this Indian IT services sector to see a muted quarter. I don't think so. The hiring would be comparable to what we saw during the surge a year and a half ago. Without doubt, I think inflated benches, rising employee costs, I think has all contributed in some form. But these services companies have also announced their significant size deal wins that they continue to see. So it's not the end of the rainbow here. So there is still a lot of work to happen, and and India continues to host a huge amount of tech talent in the country. But I'd just like to call out in terms of hiring, Tamanna, you should look at it as technology as an industry broken down into 4 segments. There is, of course, the larger volume player, which is the IT services segment, which is going through a muted pace. There's also the huge amount of captives that are expanding in India, which are your GCC frameworks, which continue to hire. So they haven't stopped. They're going maybe a little slow basis budgets, but they're still growing and they are expanding with newer captives coming in. Third, you see Indian enterprises also joining the bandwagon. So you see Indian enterprises also ramping up their digital capacity, and they also are hiring. So, and then you have the startups, which is again a little muted. So I think there is a little bit of a balance towards hiring that's happening more on the GCC side and the Indian enterprises side. But without doubt, I agree, the Indian IT services will show out a muted quarter without much headwinds on hiring as such.
Is it going to be just a muted quarter is the question. Rituparna, how long do you see this pain last? Because obviously management was very, very cautious in talking about deal pipelines. No one really knows how far and wide we're going to see the impact of global events, and Indian IT is sort of the weather vane of global events. What is your estimate in terms of the interest in adding on people, and plus the additional impact of things like AI? I don't know if it's too early to start having this conversation, but are these companies, especially the top companies, going to look at the role of AI and how that can replace jobs?
Hi, Tamanna. Thanks for having me on the show. I think, I mean, I'll be risking a lot if I start giving an accurate timeline. But by and large, our reading has been that this is like probably another 18 months journey where we would see some kind of, or rather, it's good to be prepared mentally for a journey of 18 months when things would remain muted. If the recovery happens before that, nothing like it. But I think the way it seems right now, I think this is going to last a little longer. Having said that, I think the IT industry, and particularly Indian IT industry, has been extremely resilient. And I'm kind of confident that in spite of the kind of caution that's being thrown into the air and the narrative which is coming through after the quarterly results, I think these organizations are already looking inward to kind of make sure that the muted status doesn't last that long. So I guess there is definitely something which is going on, and it's a lot of actions are preemptive, which are being taken by organizations as well to prevent greater probably calamity in days to come. So I guess we'll have to wait and watch. And honestly, I can't really stick my neck out right now. But
rarity. That's a rarity. I just want to take a second to comment, Rituparna. I've been speaking to you for so many years on air. That's a rarity for you. And
I know. It is because I really don't know, and I don't think there is anyone who can hazard a guess. But this is going to last a little longer, and it's probably going to be longer than usual. But like I keep saying, that this IT industry is remarkable. They have been able to battle such weathers even in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a bounce back earlier than that. I think the question which is obviously playing in everyone's mind, and there is always, because of the layoffs and the conversations on AI converging, there is obviously a lot of narrative which is probably suggesting that many of these layoffs are on account of the advent of AI. To be honest, standalone, if you look at it, the existence of AI is expected to cost certain jobs, and undeniably so. That's exactly what it's meant to do. It's meant to cut down repetitive work here and there, and it's a smarter way of doing things. But having said that, AI, I think there are enough and more data which suggests that AI is also expected to create huge opportunities of employment. And I'm actually particularly keen to see that how can India make that transition, because India is going to be the third or second, probably most prominent company in the AI landscape, the way the data looks to me right now. So I guess they are two standalone, but unfortunately, because the two of them have incidents or the occurrence of ChatGPT and the other OpenAI platforms have converged, there is a growing narrative that some of those jobs are on account of AI. I would suggest that that's probably not the case. Some jobs will go, but I think what's happening right now is on account of the uncertainty around the economic situation globally, and people getting prepared for probably things becoming worse in certain places and the impact of that in Indian technology. So two separate conversations, but unfortunately have converged at the same time.
Mitul Shah, on the business side, because obviously the layoff story is because of what these companies are going through. Do you see these as temporary headwinds? Do you want to stick your neck out and, you know, hazard a guess on how long the pain will be staying? Because in just about a quarter, we've seen everything from a BFSI collapse, American and European banks flailing, to global recession fears deepening, companies pulling back on their expansion plans. Do you see that persisting?
It will.
Mitul, the question for Mitul Shah, please.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for having me here. I agree with Rituparna. This seems to be not a very short-term phenomena. It should take at least 3-4 quarters from now onwards. So a very important thing to note here is that during January con calls, all the management were sounding very positive, and all of them indicated that we are not finding any major change in the client's orders or execution. Only we are just worried about future, so we remain a bit cautious. Suddenly, within just 2 months, February and March, they are now indicating that there is a massive change in terms of decision making by clients, and there is a major change coming in terms of they are literally delaying the execution side also. So despite order book being a close to all-time high, in terms of conversion of that order book into revenue is tapering down, and both the management indicated that situation slightly got deteriorated in Feb and March. So it is a clear indication April would be equally tough or even worse. So worst is yet to come. We can easily assume first quarter and second quarter, that is first half FY24, would be really more challenging and tougher. After that, probably third and fourth quarter may take some breather, and recovery can be expected towards the end of FY24 or in mid of 25. So this is how we believe that situation would be for IT service sector over next 1.5 year.
Big lesson here, Mitul, in terms of dependence on certain markets, which has really hurt the big players right now. And are you expecting this level of pain across the pack, mid-scale IT companies as well, and the other big players? Is this going to be a trend we're seeing beyond Infosys and TCS?
Yeah, certainly when these large companies are feeling the issue, definitely small or mid-sized company will have more painful situation, as in terms of vendor consolidation or orders getting cancelled or ramped down. Small companies are always more sensitive to such type of expenses. So their clients, being a relatively smaller, may have higher probability of cancelling few of the orders, or maybe at least ramping down the long-term projects for a short-term stoppage kind of situation. So small and mid-cap company will face more challenges. In terms of geography also, right now situation is more impactful in the North America and BFSIs in terms of verticals. But going forward, we are of the view that definitely it will get spread to Europe and UK also. So overall, global inflation as well as adverse macros, this sector cannot remain immune to this adverse economic situation globally because of the certainly this global inflation impacting entire consumption pattern in Western world. So each and every player will get similar or maybe larger impact in next coming 1 or 2 quarters.
Okay, so we're going to see this impact growing. From the point of view, and we've spoken from the point of view of the companies, let's speak from the point of view of the candidates who, are expecting or who have seen really their fortunes turn, I would say, in the last year or so. If you compare last year to now, attrition rates have dropped, voluntary attrition rates have also dropped. What is it looking like for them? Vijay, let me come to you first with your take, and is this the time to really relook at your skill sets? You're on mute.
Absolutely, Tamanna. I think it cannot be a better time to be more relevant on the skills. I think a very, very important fact for most candidates and employees today is to stay relevant on their tech skill stack, and for them to keep re-engineering, reskilling and upskilling themselves to become more and more important. I think second is also keep a track of how generative AI is impacting jobs. So as generative AI starts getting more and more mainstream, you will find more jobs getting evolved and you will see more tech getting evolved. And that's common to any format of new tech. And it's important for candidates to stay updated and make sure that they are also fully aware of what's happening in that space. But last but not the least, I think more importantly is to ensure that they continue to stay well networked and connected to so know where the opportunities lie. Because like I mentioned, it is muted in the larger tech services firms, but there are hiring hells. I guess, how do you get connected to those jobs? How do you stay networked on that front? I think these are going to be very, very key aspects of staying relevant.
Your take on that? How do you stay relevant at a time like this? And also deal with new realities which are coming in. We talked briefly about ChatGPT, AI, etc. Is it time to rework that pipeline going into these companies as well, or is this just a short period of pain and things will come back to normal? Rituparna, that question's for you. Yes.
First and foremost, we should make peace that such incidents will be happening in our lifetime much more often than ever before. And hence, to treat this as a temporary phenomena and this too shall pass, we would be a fool's errand. And certain calibration, the way we approach our work, our professions, our career is important. Of course, just like you mentioned, there was just 6 months or 8 months back, we were celebrating the kind of insane offers, benefits, packages we're being given. And now we're talking about 27, 28% attrition, and we're talking about something completely different. I think it's first and foremost, it's prudent to plan for a rainy day. And it's important that we kind of manage ourselves, our finances, our commitments in moderations to ensure that there is longevity. Besides, obviously, there's things like skills and so on and so forth. I think we need to now ensure that there is an entrepreneurial mindset because we should not treat anything as given. The fact that I have a job today and that the fact that I will have it tomorrow is not something that one should just sit back on and rest on, because the world is becoming increasingly uncertain. So yes, of course we will turn around. I'm sure that we will get through this current phase, but then with another year or so, we might encounter something else and we'll be again back to square one. So I guess the approach to life has to be preparation for a bad day, preparation for a rainy day, and how resilient one can be. And being diverse, I think it's very important that we start looking at how diverse our skill set is, how fungible our skill set is, because only then we shall be able to fit in and kind of adapt to whatever are the changes that are happening around us. So I guess It's very important to have more than one skill set. You can have a primary skill set, but are you actually, creating a surround sound or creating shields of multiple other skill sets which can tide you through such situations? I think it's very important. I know we don't think like that, but it's absolutely essential for us to now kind of, prepare ourselves mentally to make such choices and changes in our life.
It's going to be some more days of tumultuous sort of results. We're seeing the signs and the troubling trends, and that's going to last for a while. Having said that, the IT sector in India has shown its resilience in the past and will continue to do that. Remember, the rate of hiring people has dropped, but it's not as if they're large-scale cuts like the way you're seeing in a lot of global companies. So we need to keep that in mind and that perspective as well. Thank you so much, Mitul Shah, Vijay Sivaram and Rituparna Chakraborty for joining us today.